What's up, YouTube? It's Saturday morning. We're in my house in Montana. It's more of a man cave. So my bow shop is at my house in Arkansas. So this is my man cave bow shop here. It's definitely not approved by a wife. It's a straight up man house. It's terrible. But my wife don't live here with me. She lives in Arkansas at our home. So I live in Montana because I work here. So anyway, if it looks junky, that's because there's no woman in my life in Montana. She's in Arkansas, cleaning the house that I never see. It's just a little bit of my complaints. No, I'm just kidding. She's a good wife. She puts up with me hunting. I hunt year round. If there's a season open, I hunt. As long as you can kill it with a bow, I'm in. Yeah. Once I got to the new states like Montana, where they have other animals like black bear, elk, and antelope, I started hunting them. Funny thing is I've already hunted from let's see, October or September the 28th until February the 28th is our deer season back home. So you're looking what, September, October, November, December, January, February, almost a half a year just on whitetail. Now I've been introduced to spring black bear, that gives me from April the 15th to June the 31st. So that's April, May, June, that's 2 more months. So now I'm 7 months out of the year, and then in August pronghorn opens up. So now I can hunt all of August. That's another month. So that's 8 months out of the year that I'm hunting. And she never complains. So she's a great wife. Anyway, today I want to talk to you guys. Man, I watch YouTube 24/7. There's a lot of YouTube channels that I love. But there's a lot of them that I love, but I don't like the way that they do in the industry of shooting a bow. Such as, quite a few years back, everything went to it has to be a 5-year-old buck. It has to be a mature buck. If you shoot a young buck, you shouldn't be hunting. Blah blah blah. Why did you shoot that? Well, that ruined it for a lot of people. There's a lot of young kids, a lot of old people first time hunting that pass on deer that hell I would kill, and I've killed hundreds of them. I got walls full of them, and I mean, whatever that situation is to me, when that deer comes in, hell, it might be a 110-inch 8-point, but if I called him in and he comes in there sideways, hair bristled up, stomping, ears pinned back, snorting and wheezing, and I get it on video, I'm probably gonna shoot him because that's awesome. I'm a bow hunter, so you take the opportunities when the opportunities come. Anyway, it's a different story. What I'm going to talk about today is the way that they're pushing everyone. They're like, every channel you talk to, all they talk about is if you're not shooting with back tension and pulling through the shot, you're wrong. If you're not using a hinge, if you're not using a thumb button, you're wrong. If you use one of these, you need to regroup and start from scratch. Well, I'm here to tell you that is not true. You can shoot each individual, a hinge, a thumb, an index. You can shoot each one of them exactly the same. You can punch this trigger. I can punch this trigger, and I can punch this trigger. I can do a pull, back tension, whatever they call it, back tension, but I'm going to show you today, back tension has nothing to do with pulling this trigger. You can shoot this one pulling through the shot. You can shoot this one pulling through the shot. You can shoot this one pulling through the shot. I'm going to show you guys that. I got time this morning. We're going to pack in about 5 miles this afternoon and camp out overnight, go on a bear hunt, and then we're going to try to hunt hunt the next 4 to 5 miles in during the day tomorrow. So anyway, I'm going to show you that, how that is, and I'm going to show you something that I learned a long time ago. Now I'm 52 years old. I've been shooting a bow. I think I got my first bow around 16 years old. It was a whitetail. It was a Bear whitetail that I bought at a pawn shop for like 50 or 60 or $70. I don't remember. And I shot that bow for a year before I was able to spend $250 and buy a used PSE, which is the one I killed my first deer with. Now, I will tell you this, those bows were crap. I mean, for the time, they were amazing. But compared to today's bows, they're crap, right? I could still, at that time, I could shoot that whitetail, that bow, that Bear whitetail. I could hit a 100-yard group. I had a 3-foot target. I could hit the target. I wouldn't say it was a group. And I couldn't hit it every time. But years and years, way back then, I started trying to extend my ranges, figuring out what I needed to do to be able to be more accurate at long yardages, because I loved the idea of shooting a bow. I loved the idea of hunting with a bow. I loved the idea of getting all my game with a bow. After I started shooting a bow, I never, ever cared about hunting with a gun again. Not because I have something against gun hunting. I absolutely don't. Anyone who does it and loves it and likes it, I want you to hunt. If that's what you're gonna have to hunt, then that's what I want you to use, because I want everyone in this entire world, existence today, and every child born over the next 150 to 200 years, I want them to be hunters. Without hunters, we will lose all of our wildlife, because animal lovers, they want every one of them to live forever. Well, we obviously know if they all live forever, they're all going to die soon, because they're going to run out of food. They're going to run out of real estate. Anyway, another story. But I want everyone to be a hunter. I want them to hunt with a bow, with a gun, with a crossbow, with a spear, if you're Tim Wells, with a dart, if you're Tim Wells, whatever. I want them in the woods hunting. I want our hunting family to grow as large as possible. So, but today, I want to show you guys what I've learned through the years about shooting a bow. I've made videos before, but I don't think I've ever went in depth about all of it. So anyways, and I'm going to show you what I learned about back tension. A lot of guys will tell you that once you get into your anchor, if you're not squeezing your back together like that, you squeeze your back and you let your pin float. Once it's floating, you pull and pull and squeeze through your back and squeeze until the bow fires. If you're not doing that, you're wrong. Well, if you can shoot that way 100% of the time perfectly, then do that. You're not wrong. But if that is not what doesn't work for you, don't be doing something that makes you 80% accurate when you could do something that makes you 100% accurate. If you shoot this 75% of the time really good, then there's a 25% chance that you're going to screw up when you pull back on an animal. If you shoot this 50% of the time good, there's a 50% chance you're going to screw up on an animal. If you shoot this 90% of the time good, then there's a 10% chance that you're going to screw up on an animal. So why in the world would you hunt with one that gave you a less percent chance of making a good shot? It makes no sense. You know what I mean? It makes zero sense. If you went to the casino or to the gas station and this lady said, look, if you buy this ticket, you got a 50% chance of winning $10 million. If you buy this ticket, you got a 70% chance of winning $10 million. If you buy this ticket, you got a 90% chance of winning $10 million. Now, all of these cost basically the same, within a few dollars. Which ticket would you buy? Would you buy the one with the least chance? No, absolutely not. Unless you're a moron, or you just got money to throw away, and you already got $10 million. So I'm going to show you a couple of things that will help you decide which one of these you shoot best. Maybe watching videos, because some of these videos, they're trying to entice you into coming to their schools, spending money on their websites to get more training. That's all nonsense. So you get half of the information, or 75% of the information. I'm going to give you all the information, at least that I believe to be true and have in my head. So we'll get started. All right, guys. The thing that gets us right is the target panic, right? Target panic is what happens is when your pin gets on the target, your body's in stress. Your body's in a stressful situation because you're holding back your bow, right? When your pin gets on the target, your brain says it's there. You need to shoot before it moves. That causes you to anticipate that, and you anticipate the pin getting there, and then when the pin gets there, you punch the trigger when you're not ready. And as actually stole this idea from John Dudley, who, by the way, I learned a lot of shit from watching John Dudley videos, and I learned the majority of the stuff, changing my form, changing my style, from watching Chris B shoot. In my opinion, Chris B has the best shot process, shot form of any person I've ever seen. Better than John Dudley, better than everybody. Doesn't mean he's the best shot. T-Bone from Bone Collector, he'll outshoot anybody. I don't even know what he looks like when he shoots. I just know his capabilities from watching him and from everything. He's been around for a long time. My money will always be on T-Bone when it comes to shooting against somebody. But the best form, the best I've ever seen, best shot process, best follow through, Chris B. The majority of the stuff that I learned is from studying his videos and then watching a lot of John Dudley videos. This I stole from John Dudley. All right, I think he used a green tennis ball. Anyway, what happens is, we're gonna call this the bullseye. This is gonna be your pin, right? What happens is, you got the target here. You draw back, you bring your pin to the target, you try to hold it there and it moves around. It may move up or down, it may move side to side, or if you're like me, it tries to hang here and you pull it up, and then it tries to fall and you pull it up, and it tries to fall and you pull it up, and it tries to fall, which is 90% of most people that hang up under the target. Anyway, so we're gonna go with that. So you're pulling it up, and your brain is telling you it's almost there, it's almost there, it's almost there. It's there, it's gonna drop, you gotta shoot, and as it drops, you punch the trigger. Or your form breaks down. Or you anticipate it coming up, and you try to pull it up and hit the trigger at the same time, and shit just goes awry. Arrows go everywhere. You ruin arrows, you waste money. At any rate, you're missing the target. What you want to do is, you want to create a shot process. Back tension, pulling through, all of that shit does not create a steady pin on target. That creates a good shot. That creates a follow through. That creates a shot process. A shot process is what you need to be able to let your pin float around. And then once you get that shot process and you're okay with that float, then you start to apply fire in the shot, whether it be like this, like this, like this, or with a hinge like this. Until you work on your shot process and you get it down in your brain, and you have the muscle memory to pull draw back, get your pin on target, accept the fact that it's going to move. Everyone's pins move. I don't care who they are, they move. Some way or another, they move. Once you accept that, and then you're slowly pulling on that trigger until it fires, 99% of the time, you're going to hit your mark. The reason why is it's just like driving your truck. You drive your truck, you got a yellow line on your left and a white line on the right. Your brain knows if you cross that yellow line, you could have a head-on collision. Your brain knows if you cross that white line, you could hit the ditch. Now, when you first start driving, when you first learn to drive a car, you got two hands on the wheel and you're looking, you're like, and your car is going all over the place. You get close to the yellow line, you pull it back. You get close to the white line, you pull it back. And you end up going down the road like this. That's because you're new. It's because you haven't developed your driving process. Now, after driving for a while, you drive like this. Turning on the radio, talking to your buddy, pointing at the big buck you just seen in the field. You can literally pull over on the shoulder and keep your eye on the deer and not get in the ditch. The reason why is, once you get used to that, once you've established the actual process of driving, you always, without thinking, are pulling your vehicle back to the middle. You don't have to think about it. You ease over to the yellow line, you pull it back to the middle. You ease over to the white line, you pull it back to the middle. You can pass a vehicle. You don't have to, when you pass a vehicle, you're not looking at that vehicle and waiting for the very second, as if you were getting your pin on target. You're not waiting for the very second you get in front of that car and then go, poof. Because if you did, you'd probably hit the car or hit the ditch or run them off the road. You do it without thinking. You're always putting it back in the middle. That's what happens with this pin once you develop a good shot process. It has nothing to do with if you pull a trigger like this, or if you pull through the shot like that, or if you manipulate the hinge with your hand. It has to do with the fact that your brain is okay with that pin floating around in that target. That's what I want to help you guys get to with this little step that I have learned. Let me do something real quick. All right, guys. First thing I want you to do is I want you to get a paper plate. I want you to take that paper plate and I want you to put that on your target. This whole paper plate is your bullseye, not the center of it. I want you to imagine as if this paper plate was the size of a quarter and you're shooting at it from 20 yards. Okay? So as long as your pin is touching this plate anywhere, even if it's just splitting the line, you're hitting in the 10 ring. You're hitting a bullseye. Okay? So I want you to get a paper plate, put it on your target. Once you put that plate on your target, I want you to get your bow. Now I'm going to use this thumb button because it's just easier for me to pull it up and let it down. What I want you to do at that point is I want you to get about anywhere from 10 feet to around 10 feet. Get around 10 feet from your target. And I want you to work on the shot process. I don't want you shooting any shots yet. I want you to get up there and I want you to do this. I'll tell you through mine, which I learned from John Dudley, and then you can create your own. You may need it to be shorter, you may need it to be longer. It doesn't matter as long as it works for you and it's repeatable. The best shot in archery, the person that wins the most tournaments, is the person that is the most repeatable that day, which just so happens most of the time is Levi Morgan, right? So I want you to create a shot process. A shot process is this, okay? Mine doesn't start until I click or hook up to my D-loop. And I say to myself, stance. I look at my stance. I like to shoot with a little bit of an open stance, meaning if this is completely square, this would be closed, this would be open. My body is opened up to the target, right? So my front foot, if my front toe is lined up in the middle of my rear foot, right? So I look down and I go stance, and then I say grip. Now, my grip is like this, right? So if I'm in a stressful situation, maybe I'm chasing a buck or an elk, and I'm like, oh shit, okay, I need to hurry up and shoot. I don't want to grab like this. I always talk to myself about my shot process. I've done it for so long that it comes natural, and that's what you need to do. So stance, grip, and then I say anchor. And when I say anchor, that means line up my peep and everything. So I say anchor, pin, and shoot. That's my shot process. Stance, grip, anchor, shoot. Okay? Now, when I say anchor, at the moment that I say anchor, for me, as my anchor is getting there, my pin is getting on target. But what I want you to do is, I want you to go through your shot process. After you say anchor, acquire your sight and bring your bow up to where your pin is on this paper plate. Remember, you're only 10 feet away. At that point, I want you to not shoot your bow, but I want you to do like this. Let me grab this arrow. I want you to go through your shot process. Stance, grip, anchor, pin. When you get your pin on there, I want you to hold it. Do not fire. You just be comfortable staring through your sight to that paper plate. Now, a lot of people will tell you, don't look at your pin. A lot of people will say, don't look at the pin. Don't look at the pin. Look at the target. Well, I'm here to tell you, if you don't look at that pin, you're not going to hit shit because that pin tells you where you're going to hit. Now, it's my belief that what they mean is this. Let's say that you're shooting, this is your sight and this is your target. Let me turn this so that white's not back there. All right. Well, I believe what they're saying is you need to look through that pin to the target, but you need to keep your eye on that pin, right? Look past the pin at your target, but keep the pin in your vision. Now, don't focus on the pin to where the target is blurry in a sense. Focus on the target. Let your pin be less blurry, but make sure you're looking through that pin at that target. Essentially something like that. It's going to move around, okay? Now, so you're going to do your shot process. Stance, grip, anchor, pin, and I want you to just sit there. Pull in with your, the best way to pull through a shot is a little push with your bow hand and a little pull. Now, you can pull with your back like this, or you can pull with your elbow. Whatever works best for you and makes you the most accurate. But you need to have a little push and a little pull. If you have no push, this shoulder is going to come up. And when that shoulder comes up, you essentially let off on your bow. So you're going to shoot lower sometimes. When the shoulder's down, it's going to shoot higher. And when your shoulder comes up, at that point, you're trying to hold it with muscle. And that's what causes you to get shaky. So anchor, push and pull. Let your pin get on target, and then I want you to hold it. I don't care for how long, but hold it. As it gets on target, then I want you to say to yourself, fire. And pretend as if you were squeezing your trigger really slow as that pin floats around. As it's floating around, you're saying fire, and you're squeezing, you're either pulling, pushing a button, manipulating a hinge, or pulling the trigger really slow. And you're okay with the pin moving because it's a big target, you're up close, and it's not going to come off with it. That's going to train your brain. As that happens and you pull that trigger, it's going to fire and you're going to hit this. So what you're going to do is essentially Blake bail, right? You're going to do that about 20 times every day. When you get home from work or on Saturday, whatever you got going on, you get ready to shoot, go out there at 10 feet, go through your shot process, let your pin get on target, say to yourself, fire, start applying, and then let down. Do that 15, 20 times. Okay? After you do that for 15 or 20 times, go back to 10 yards or 20 yards. I always go, I do it when I practice to stay in shape and keep my form right. I'll go 10 feet and then 20 yards. All right, so now you're gonna go back to 20 yards. You're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna go stance, grip, anchor, pin, and just hold it and let it float. Pretend that you're applying pressure and pulling through your shot and applying pressure, right? Do that 10 times. On the 11th time, actually make the shot. Let it float, squeeze, let it fire. You will be so amazed at how many times you hit a tiny target. You put you a golf ball size white dot on your target or whatever. It is really easy for you to see. You do 10 times letting your pin float on there, pulling through your shot, pretending you're pulling the trigger, and then you let down. Take you a good break in between the letdowns. Don't just do it. Let it down, let it down, let it down. Take you a good little break. Work on your shot process in your head. Okay, I just did really good. Now I'm gonna do it again. Stance, grip, anchor, pin, shot, and bam. Without actually pulling your bow back. Set your bow down, let your arms rest. But go through that in your mind. Go through that in your mind. Do that 10 times. On the 11th time, make the shot. Shoot you about 5 or 6 or 10 of them, whatever it takes. The next day, when you get home from work, you get up in the morning, if you ain't got to work, you go back to 10 feet, you start the same process over again. 20 blank bells. Then move back to 20 yards, 10 actually not shooting, and then on the 11th one, shoot and make you about 10 shots. Repeat that for about 2 weeks. I know it sounds terrible, it sounds boring, it sounds not fun, but that is literally exactly what I did to create my shot process, and it took me 2 weeks for it to become natural. Now, what happens when you have a shot process and it becomes natural, when you draw back, if something's wrong, if something don't feel right, maybe you got hooked on the D-loop, maybe your hand's twisted wrong, maybe you got a different touch on your grip, maybe your front shoulder's not extended like it should be. Your body will tell your mind immediately, you will know something's wrong. When you do realize something's wrong, don't take the shot. Let it down. Take a deep breath, shake it off, start your process over again. And that will train you to have a good shot process. Once you have a good shot process, I promise you will be okay with that pin floating around. Because now, you're not saying to yourself, get the pin on target and make the shot before it moves. Now, you're saying to yourself, stance, grip, anchor, pin. And then, once you get your pin there, you start applying pressure and slowly pulling through as you pull the trigger and make your shot. And you will eventually be very okay with that pin moving. And most 90% of the time, you're going to move it back to the middle. Even if it's down here when you fire, your body's going to automatically be pulling it back up. Automatically. Bows today are so forgiving and so accurate that you're going to always, most of the time, make a good shot if you do that. All right, so now 2 weeks has gone by. You've got your shot process down. You've got a good understanding of what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to do it. You're shooting really good, but you're still getting occasional left and rights or up and downs, right? Or maybe you're not. Maybe you're shooting awesome, and now you got to start shooting in the wind, but the wind's moving you around a little bit. You're having to hold longer. And as you hold longer, you're feeling weaker, or you're maneuvering the bow or whatever. So the way to combat that is having a good shot follow through. Hold on, let me adjust this camera. Okay, what I mean by that is all of the other stuff about back tension, pulling through the shot is 100% true, 100% accurate. You need to get into your shot. You need to have a good grip. You need to have a good anchor that's repeatable. I don't care if your anchor is here, wherever the hell you need it, that you can repeat it every time without thinking about it. And that's what you will learn during the 2 weeks working on your shot process. Repeatability is what's important. So once you got that, 2 weeks have gone by, now you're working on your shot. It is very important, it's very important that you pull through the shot all the time. You may not be pulling to actually make the trigger go off, or make the shot, make the pin, make the shit, my mind just went blank. You may not be pulling to actually make your release fire. So when I shoot a thumb button and I'm practicing and I'm trying to keep my shot process good, keep my form good, I shoot with this thumb button most of the time. Occasionally, well, I shoot a lot with this hinge too, because to me a hinge makes my form hold better, because I have less of a chance of manipulating it or pulling it. But when I shoot a hinge, I shoot it like this. I get in my anchor, I let my thumb rest there. There's no pressure on it. I just let it rest. It basically touches that finger, and then I pull until it fires. Okay? So I will do my practicing just like that. I let my pin start to float, and then I just start to pull until it fires. Now, you can do the same thing with this as you can do with any of those. But what I want you to concentrate more on than anything is the actual movement that you need to apply to be able to hold steady. So when this shoulder's down and you're pushing forward just a hair, your shoulder's down and forward, you're squeezing with your back muscles. I like to use this right here. As I get into my shot, I squeeze like that. And then as I get to a certain point, I start applying my fingers pressure to the trigger. What that does is, if you'll take, when you're practicing, if you'll get out there, don't fire the shot, just hook onto your bow, get your pin on target, and instead of firing, start squeezing. You'll notice at a certain point, your pin, when you start to squeeze, your pin is moving like this, but at a certain point, when you have your shoulder down, you got good back tension, you get it to a certain amount of pressure, your pin will slow down. As it slows down, that's where you want to be when you're ready, when your shot goes off. Okay, now they say you need to be a surprise shot. I don't want a surprise shot. I don't want to be surprised that I pulled the fucking trigger. I want to know that during my shot process, when I get to that point and my pin is slowing down, I want to know that's where my bow is going off. If it's not going off there, I'm doing something different, which means I'm not being repeatable, which means I'm not shooting to my best abilities. So that's a big thing that most people don't do. I'll show you a little trick that I figured out. It's not a trick, it's just something I figured out one day when I was thinking about my shot. And I was moving and I realized something. So get in there and act like you're shooting like this, right? Now, you know, a lot of people, they're overbowed, or they try to shoot at 80% let off because some guy on YouTube said, you need 80% let off because that's what target archers shoot. Target archers also shoot less poundage for the most part. But if you ever notice, as soon as if you're pulling through correctly and you're applying pressure correctly, and you start to let forward with this hand, if you notice this hand right here, I cannot stop that hand from moving. If I go to let forward with this hand, just try it. If I go to let this hand relax, this bow hand moves. No matter what I do, I mean, like, see, I'm trying to hold it there. Okay, that's taking a lot of tension to hold it there. So naturally, when you pull back, if you go to relax with your release hand, your bow hand's gonna move. It just does. I did not know that until one day I walked in the house and I was like, man, I've been getting What it was is I had my bow set on 80 pounds, and I shot for 3 days in a row, about 3 hours in a row, and it hurt my lats, and I got sore, and I got weak, and I started missing right really bad. And I was like, okay, what am I doing? And I come home, and I'm like, what am I doing to my process? I gotta be, if I'm weak, this hand's gotta be relaxing, right? Because that's naturally, this is a straight, almost perfectly straight arm, so it's not gonna relax. Your shoulder can collapse, right? But if you get a good, solid shot process, you've got that worked out. So the first thing that's gonna happen when you're getting weak or tired is this hand's gonna relax, right? So I was like, why? And I noticed that this hand moves every time I relax. And I think it's because of the way you apply pressure and pull through with your back. When this hand relaxes, this hand removes. That's going to cause you to shoot to the right. So try it for yourself, see if that works. And then when you build your shot process and whenever you're practicing, when you're blank belling, think about that. That's why it's important. That's why back tension is important. It's not important to make you fire the release. It's important to make you hold steady. Once you have that ability to hold steady, you have your shot process in your brain and you are okay with that pin moving. That's what kills us as archers. We don't like to see that pin move, especially at longer distances. When your pin covers up the target, say this is my pin. Well, just like I showed you a while ago, say this is my target and this is my pin. When that pin covers that target, we freak out, so we move it so we can see it. We move it so we can see it. We want to make sure that we're right. That's all in our brain. Once you develop a good shot process, and you know that at the moment you say pin or acquire sight, acquire P, or I'm on target, or whatever that is, once you get there and your brain tells you I'm there, it's time to start applying pressure and shoot, and you're okay with that, that problem will go away. But during that, you also have to keep the right amount of back pressure so that that pin slows down to the right time. You're okay with it, your pin's floating, you're applying pressure, and you're slowly squeezing the trigger, and it goes off. Now, the reason why I like to hunt, I'm going to talk about releases a little bit. The reason why I like to hunt with this is for this small factor right here. Animals move, okay? I don't want a surprise shot because animals move. I want to be able to draw my bow back. Maybe that animal's walking through the brush. Maybe he's doing whatever, and I'm like, man, and I need to shoot. I need to shoot when he stops. So I'm okay with my process. It's already wired in my brain. I'm always going to be pulling through and ready to start squeezing the trigger. And you will be too with practice. But I want to pull that trigger when that animal stops. I can do that with this. It's simple. Check it out. Man, dead. Right? Now, I can do that with this, but it messes up my shot. I'll show you why. In order for me to pull through and use back tension and make this fire in a hurry, I have to manipulate a lot of muscles. I have to push with my hand. I have to squeeze, or I have to hold the release in my hand so it doesn't slip out. And I have to intentionally pull hard enough to engage my thumb and make that fire. Right? That's not technically the way that a thumb button was made to shoot. And you definitely don't want to shoot it by pushing that. Look at all my fingers move when I push that. My whole hand tightens up to push that button. When my hand tightens up, especially with a handheld, with an index, your D loop stays straight. With a handheld, you twist it like that. Just look at the string move. Okay, now imagine I'm inside my 85 or 80% let off. Now the string really has the ability to move. I don't want to be shooting like this, man, and have to pull till it fires, because he may not stay there that long. I don't want to have to push this button, because that creates a lot of muscles moving and tension in this hand that affects my D loop that's attached to my string, that's attached to my arrow. So it's going to affect the back end of the arrow, how it comes off of the rest. Now, let's look at the same thing with a hinge. I absolutely love shooting with a hinge at targets on non-windy days, by the way. Let's make that all clear. Because I believe that a hinge makes you hold your form better than any other release there is. Even better than an actual back tension that you would squeeze, draw back, let off, and pull till it fires. I still believe that a hinge is better. That's just my opinion. Because when you get tired and you're back here like this and you're getting ready to shoot, if you do relax a little bit and then you go to pull it back, it's going to fire and lose your arrow. It's not going to happen with this. The way that a back tension works is you push a safety, draw it back, let off the safety, and then pull till it fires. Well, if you're back here and for some reason you do one of these numbers and you go to pull it back again, you're going to fire and lose that arrow. I don't know about you, but almost $200 for a dozen of arrows, I'm not into shooting them to nowhere where I can't find them. But with a hinge, it's the same thing. Same shot process. I pull it till it clicks. There's my click. Now I'm following the arrow. I still have to pull until it fires. Now, I can also manipulate this and make it fire when I want it to. Just like any other release. You can literally make any release go off. All I gotta do is this. All I gotta do is twist my hand. I need to hurry up and shoot. Twist my hand. Look at all the movement, all the hand muscles I have to move to do that. Now, with this index finger, I can shoot this with back tension just like anything else and work on my form and practice and not change anything on my string. Everything's exactly the same as the way I hunt. It doesn't manipulate my string, so that's less issues, that it's less things that I might manipulate and screw up, because I will screw some shit up. But I can shoot it with back tension just like any other release. I wrap my finger, pull until it fires. So I can still practice that way, but I have the ability, when I stop an animal, when I want to make a shot, all I have to do is hold my back tension and apply pressure slowly until it fires. Just like snipers in the military. So, it's my opinion that you guys should shoot whatever release you shoot the best. I don't care who tells you any different. I don't care if Joel Turner is there tapping on your string, tapping on your head. If I'm ever in the woods and I'm drawing back on an animal, my buddy's never going to be doing this while I'm trying to kill him. My buddy's never going to be tapping on my fucking string, moving my peep sight, because if he does, he won't be my buddy very long. Now, does that have a place in helping you shoot under stress? Probably. Let me fix this camera, hold on. Okay, probably so. I think he was a sniper in the military. He's way smarter than I am. He probably knows 1,000 things more about shooting than I do. I don't know how old he is, but I do know I'm 52. I've been shooting a bow for many years, and I've worked through all the problems that anyone could ever have, because trust me, I've had them all. I have had target panic so bad that I could not hit a target at 30 yards. I'm talking about a big ass bag target at 30 yards. I've been shooting darts for months, prepping for deer season. It was the day before we were headed to Kentucky on a public land hunt. Me and my buddies ran out to shoot, and I let that pin get there, and when that pin would get on target, I would tell myself, I gotta shoot because it's moving, pap, and I would literally miss the whole freaking target. I lost 3 arrows out of my 6. I told you guys, I'm not going hunting. I'm going home and fixing this shit. And that's when I started doing blank belling, and that little process that I just talked to you guys about is the exact process that I use and I still use today. At least once a week. Now I shoot my bow almost every day, whether it's here in this house or at the range. But once a week I go out and I at least do some blank belling. I work on my form and I work on my process, so that in the moment of truth, I don't forget that. I remember stance, grip, anchor, pin, fire, and I apply pressure to the trigger. Now, the reason that I shoot this, as I said, is because animals move. And there are times when that animal has no clue you're there, like the mule deer I killed last year, 95 yards, heart shot. Laying in his bed, he had his elbow up here. I put it on the tip of his elbow because I knew it was covering his heart. It literally, 95 yards, it scraped. I had really not much wind, just a little bit across me, but it scraped that elbow just a tiny bit, went through there, straight through, broke a rib on the entry side, come out, completely broke the big bone on the opposite side, and was sticking out about that far. 70-pound Mathews V327 with a over the top mechanical broadhead made by Grim Reaper. But I was only able to make such a precise shot because I practice all the time. My buddies will tell you, if I'm not at work and there's not a hunting season open, and they say, where's John? They're gonna tell you, oh, he's shooting his bow somewhere. I can guarantee you, he's shooting his bow somewhere. So anyway, you guys try that out. Let me know if it works for you. If it doesn't, let me know, and we'll see if we can figure out something else. But I'll catch you guys this afternoon on the hike in, and we'll start looking at the campsite for bear hunting. Catch you later.